Chad Benson Show.
Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
She's young, fresh blood that may be going to D.C. She's a former Uber driver. She was a karaoke DJ. Of course, that's who you want to represent you, somebody who gets what regular life is like. Morgan Murtaugh joins us. Morgan, appreciate you coming on today. What was it like being a karaoke DJ?
It was so much fun. I worked full time, and then I did that on the side. And I got paid to do what I love. I couldn't believe that I got paid $100 a night just to sing.
There's nothing wrong with that, right? Like, that's great. Like, that's most people be excited to sing for free. Getting paid $100 a night is great. But now you're running to go to D.C. to change things up. Immigration is a huge thing. We live in a sanctuary state, which I don't know how we got here. Like you, I was born and raised in California. This doesn't represent the California I once knew. I always knew we were a little bit left, but now we're so progressive that I don't even recognize California anymore. And with immigration being the battleground and California being the battleground for immigration, you know, you talk the difference between border security and immigration reform. I think we need both. Let's talk about border security first. What would you like to see happen?
Well, here's the thing. With border security and national security, I think of it more like a water-damaged house with a leak. And you can't just patch up the water-damaged parts of the house and ignore the leak, because over time the problem gets worse. So first we have to stop the leak, and in this case that means securing our border. It's a national security issue. It's a no-brainer, and it's a matter of our safety. And we need to know who's coming into our country and when. So the fact that people keep saying that, 2 years ago everyone understood that border security and was national security and immigration reform was a completely different animal. Yet now we see Democrats jumping on this train, this anti-Trump train, that anything Trump says or does is wrong, even though 2 years ago they agreed.
Yeah, and to me, I find this to be so interesting to watch the way that the left plays this game. And let's be real. I'm not mad at people that come here illegally. We can debate why they do it, but a majority of them are looking to make a better life for their families, and this is the golden goose, and why wouldn't you make an effort to get to the golden goose? I've always been mad at both sides that have allowed, and this includes the Republicans, that have allowed this to happen. If you're going to go to D.C., how do you get the Republicans on board? Because they've enjoyed the cheap labor.
Yeah, they have. We have this problem. We have this water leak, per se, as I said. Then we solve the water damage, and in this case, it's our broken immigration system. Border Patrol predicts that there are over 30 million people here illegally, but of course, there's no way of knowing an exact amount between illegal border crossing and visa overstays. And of course, we love our cheap labor. But we need to come up with a plan to know exactly who's in our country and why. And a good amount of people here are seeking a better life. And some accomplish great things like, go to Oxford. I didn't go to Oxford, but some people who came here who are dreamers did go to Oxford. And no country would want to kick someone out like that. But on the flip side, we have people here who have bad intentions. And on the same note, we have no idea who they are or where they are, and we need to get them out of here. So I do understand this whole, there are good people here, but people need to remember that that's not the case always. There are also bad people here.
Talking to Morgan Murtaugh, she's hoping to go to Washington. She's hoping to win the 53rd, the 53rd district. You're down there in San Diego, and go to Washington and change things up. Let's talk about immigration reform, because we could talk about security all day, and there's a debate there. I don't know why we have this insane debate, but let's talk about reform, because both sides have profited off of it. Both sides, I don't think either side really wants it fixed, because as we know in politics, it's why cure the disease when the disease raises money and keeps us in the headlines. How do we fix immigration? What would you like to see happen? Because I don't want to throw everybody out of here. There have been a lot of people, the majority of them do add value to our country, and we're going to need workers and people going ahead in the future. But how do we do that in a way that satisfies a majority, not everybody, but a majority of the population and taxpayers?
So I want to work with Border Patrol over the next couple of months to come up with legislation that would, one, force employers to use E-Verify and audit everyone here who's here illegally so that we can start a process of healing our broken immigration system. And then, I mean, I'm not saying that I stand with a pathway to citizenship, because if you came here illegally, you violated our sovereignty, and that should not be portrayed in any ways acceptable to the world. But a pathway to permanent residency for those who are truly making a positive impact in our society is something to consider. So how that looks, I don't yet know, but I do want to work with Border Patrol, and that is where I'm headed.
You know, it's funny. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I said, I've got a great idea. How is the left going to feel if, say, we've got a pathway to citizenship, we're totally fine, except there's one caveat. If you've come here illegally, you can be a citizen, except for you can't vote. How would the left take it then? Because isn't that really what the left wants? They're looking at all of these people coming here as future potential voters that are going to continue to keep them in power.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I said a pathway to permanent residency versus a pathway to citizenship, because a U.S. citizen can vote. And then you take that blurry line and you completely get rid of it, so there's no confusion, and you make these people who are truly making a positive impact. Because I mean, everyone here probably, especially in California, has a friend who was brought here illegally or came here illegally, because there are so many of them in California, and there are a lot of good people. And so a pathway to permanent residency, therefore, they can't vote because they're not a citizen and they came here legally, so you don't get that right. But you can stay here and work here and live your life here.
And that would, I mean, see, for the left, it's never enough. And for the right, again, I don't think they really want to solve the problem because they all raise money off this. You know that, Morgan. I mean, this is what they love to do. They raise money off of it.
It drives me crazy. I mean, I didn't think I would run for office at 25 years old, but I feel like the only person who actually wants to do something about the problem is the 25-year-old running for office. So here we are. I'm going to run for office, and I'm going to force this down their throats, whether they like it or not.
And, you know, a lot of people will probably look at you. You're 25 years old. You know, here's Morgan Murtaugh. Who's this girl? She's 25 years old. She's down here in San Diego. She's running for office. She's taking on these big things. You have no life experiences. You know, Paul Ryans of the world are going to look at you and go, you're just a kid. You know, the Mitch McConnells are going to be, she's just a kid. How do you take that? Because that to me, I mean, I get it too. You know, look, I look at it and say, you're 25. What do you know at 25? Here's
the thing. I get that so often. But the median age of the United States citizen is about my age. So, you know, look at all these people in Congress, and they are way past the median age. They are not relatable. They don't know what's going on in the world because they have been in office for far too long. They don't get reality. They have completely lost touch. Here I am. I live in reality. I understand reality. I am an average citizen, and I am, like I said on Fox News, pissed off. And so I'm just tired of these people who are walking around the issue instead of tackling it and trying to solve our problems, because we've had enough of this he said, she said. We need to actually take initiative and do something. I mean, I've done a lot in my life. If you listening want to go on my website, morganmurtaugh.com, Morgan as in Captain Morgan and Murtaugh as in lethal weapon, then just look me up and you can read all the things I've done in my life. I am very much qualified. I've done a lot in my life. I've been working in politics for about 10 years, even though I'm only 25. I started volunteering when I was 15. So this is my life, and I want to do something good.
When you talk to other millennials, right, because there seems to be a disconnect. And when I was at the national convention a couple of years ago for the Republicans, when Trump was there, the crowning it, I walked around, and the first thing I noticed, Morgan, is it seemed like an Abercrombie and Fitch, just stepping off white privilege kind of feel there. And the other thing is when I would talk to them about reaching people, whether it be the African-American community, whether it be the Hispanic community, or even the millennials, their whole thought process was, this is our message. You guys can come to us if you want our message. If not, we're not going to chase you down. And the younger generation, unfortunately, they kind of want to be chased. They kind of want to be chased down. When you talk to millennials and say, "Look, I'm running, and I'm running on the right side of the aisle, if you will," how do they approach you? Like really? You're young. Shouldn't you be over here progressive with us?
It's funny. 9 times out of 10, people just assume I'm progressive just by looking at me when I tell them I'm running for office. Every single time. I am not even kidding. It's so funny. I'll just tell people I'm running, and they're like, "Oh, great, we need more like progressives in office." But just because I'm a young woman, they assume that. It's hilarious. But when I actually have a conversation with millennials, especially, I don't tell them I'm running as a Republican unless they ask, because there's this stigma, this anti-Republican stigma, but they don't know what Republicans even stand for. They can't even tell you what the Republican Party platform is. So I just tell them what I'm running on and the issues that I care about, and usually they just agree with me and tell me that they're going to vote for me without asking me what party I am. And that's actually the thing about millennials is we don't necessarily care about like labels. We don't. So if you like a person, 9 times out of 10, you like them regardless of their affiliation. You just got to get to know them before you apply that stigma first.
Talking to Morgan Murtaugh. She's 25. She's running to go to D.C. in Congress and change everything. Morgan, one thing I would love to see, if you go out there, I want you to get everybody on the bandwagon of eliminating, when you go into the ballot box, Republican or Democrat on the sheets or whatever it is that you're doing, because I think it would make people actually have to think about who you're voting for, because a lot of times they don't see the name, they see a D or an R, and that's how they vote.
Exactly. I mean, that's a good idea, but the fact of the matter is a lot of people aren't informed voters, and we would have to find a way to inform them. I mean, everyone listening to this show is an informed voter, but you're not average. You listening right now, you're not average, because you're taking the time to listen to, you're taking the time to get to know the issues, and you're taking the time to get to know the candidates. But the average person doesn't. And so we would have to find a way to get rid of the D or the R. We would have to find a way to get more people educated on not only the issues but the candidates, because honestly, I'm tired of partisan politics, but the D or the R really, it's because of, maybe it has fed into the problem. I don't know. But we need to find a way to get people more informed and excited about voting. I mean, people die for their right to vote in other countries, especially women. And a lot of people kind of just take it for granted here. It's sad.
It is sad. Last question. I appreciate you coming on today. How do you feel about Trump? As a 25-year-old, as a woman, as somebody from California, how do you look at Trump and you say to yourself, what with Trump?
It's funny. I personally didn't like him from the beginning. I didn't like the way that he carried himself. I didn't think he was respectful to women. But that's one thing. And then on his policies, I couldn't be more not only thrilled, but, amazed. He has accomplished so much and has stuck to the conservative agenda. So personally, I think that he needs to refine himself a little bit, because in order to win people over, you can't really attack them like he does. But, it's working for him, so who am I to say? But I do appreciate the fact that he has consistently stuck to his the conservative agenda and has made things happen for us.
Morgan Murtaugh, appreciate you coming on today. Look forward to having you on again. And anytime you need some awesome, super advice about stuff, you just come right here to the Chad Benson Show. We're going to help you out, and we're going to push you because we enjoy having you on.
Awesome. Thanks, Chad.
Thank you, Morgan. Have a good one. Morgan Murtaugh there. You can check her out at morganmurtaugh.com. That's MURTAUGH.com. I think you find her to be very fascinating. And at 25, going to D.C. to hopefully change things, I love the idea of that. Does she seem young? Yeah, absolutely. But I'm young compared to half the people that are in Congress today. So, I'm 47, for God's sakes. That kind of shows you how out of touch maybe they are. A lot of stuff still to get to. Chad Benson Show.